in our third padded practice. To be honest, we're far away from where we intend to be. The first 2 were always just kind of get your legs right, be excited about what we're doing. Then you started to saw a little bit more. We've got more able bodies from a able to practice standpoint on defense. So we've got to obviously mitigate some of those situations when we're doing team things because we don't have as many bodies, able bodies to go against them. So we're being creative with practice. But all in all, I think the energy's been pretty good. The weather's held. And we got this last one before we head to spring break and then come back. First day of spring quarter, we're on it again. So there is a break, but how much break you take probably determines how well you play on Monday the 31st.
What do you think's the biggest thing that you want to see the team grow in? Like you said, you're far away from where you want to be. What's kind of the main driving force you want to get worked out in spring practice?
Well, I think some of it's not us against us. In terms of O versus D, it's us against ourselves. Just being a little bit more consistent, successful, and consistent in situations, whether it be third down, whether it be sudden change, whether it be special teams, one-play moments, whether it be red zone. Some of that stuff you get a feel for how you are from a against you perspective, but you don't really know who you are until that first game. So building up to that, we've got a long ways to go. But I think just the energy, just to build on the basics, the fundamentals, staying healthy is always the number one thing coming out of spring, and that's we're still 11 practices away from being completed in spring. But we got to get much better in a few fronts, and we got to find who's going to block for our quarterback. Because we had 5 seniors last year, and so it's don't be surprised if all of a sudden we throw a pair of shoulder pads in your bag and an eligible number to see if you can do some work up front. So we have who we have now. We'll get a few more here after spring's done, but that really is the biggest from a personnel standpoint, positional standpoint, where we've got to make the biggest difference and bring guys in and have an ample bodies to be impactful on this football team.
Offensive coordinator, do you feel like we're going to see a different scheme? Obviously, OC's coming up through the system, so we're going to expect to see something pretty similar to what we saw last year. Kind of what's that going to look like?
Well, I think the most special thing about the offense here at Eastern, as I got into coaching in 2000, it's been about 60 to 70% about the same. We might run things a little bit deeper, call things just a little bit different, but the premise and foundation of what we do has been successful. Early on as a kid, that's one thing I listened to is if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You can tweak it, but don't fix it. We've been pretty dynamic over the course of 2.5 decades here offensively, and I've been sat in multiple chairs along the way. But I think having Coach Reeder as a mentor and Coach Shue as a mentor, Coach Pat McCann as a mentor, and then obviously Coach Chapin as a mentor. Coach Anderson's seen a few guys come up. He's witnessed it from different seats as well. We're not going to be, we will be different, but we won't be much different. We're going to play to our strengths. We'll still use a +1 quarterback run. We got to throw the ball downfield more. We got to be successful in those moments. But so that's probably the biggest difference you'll see is we won't be throwing the ball 15 times a game. At times when you have 5 seniors and a quarterback like Jared Taylor last year that kind of did what he did with a ball in his hand, you're successful, you stay and lean into that world. So we need to be a little bit more dynamic offensively, and obviously, short some things defensively to get the ball back in our offense's possession. But different, no tweaks, yes, always.
Losing a lot of offensive production with Efton and a couple of the quarterbacks. Just what are you kind of seeing so far from the offense in the first couple of practices here?
Well, I mean, just different players playing the same spots, and guys are mainly less experienced than the guys that they're replacing. And so that's to be expected in spring. You're not expecting guys to, hand out All-American awards in spring football. But as long as we're better, we protect the quarterback. We get to third manageables and third and shorts, we'll have a chance. And so I feel like we got a couple quarterbacks right now that can play Saturday and play real well. One of them's got live experience with Jared Taylor. Nate had a little bit, but not much. And so those guys continuing to groom the likes of, Jake Stockholm, bring him on board. When guys leave, there's opportunities available. That's what we're trying to do is take advantage of those repetitions that maybe you wouldn't have gotten with those guys on campus. And so It's something we got to capitalize on. But we're not going to replace them with one. We're going to replace them with multiple. And we've got enough leadership and enough experience to be able to do that. But they got to bring some experience along with them as well.
Last year, the quarterbacks, they had a close room. 3 of them are back, but Jared mentions there's still the foundations there. How do you think that's important to sort of go into the season having that foundation in the quarterback room?
I think it's one of the most fascinating units on the football team, on any football team. When you have high competitive guys, when usually one guy plays a bulk of the reps, but they all root for each other along the way. I think that can be a tricky balance at times when all of a sudden things maybe aren't going a certain way, or things aren't done the way that they need to be done. That room roots for each other more than anybody on this football team, all the while staying highly competitive. So I think the foundation's still there. You have 2 guys that have been in there for multiple years, and then Jake obviously has been in there for a year. With the addition of Anthony Quinones, he'll learn what's expected here at Eastern Washington University being a quarterback. So it didn't just start the last couple of years. It's been a pretty good room for about the last 2.5 decades, and a lot of the credit over the years has gone to that quarterback room.
DeJon talked about turning some of his pass deflections into turnovers. Is that sort of the main emphasis for the defense?
Oh, I mean, it's for him in particular. I think he led the world in PBUs. I said I like acronyms, but I like INT acronym more than I do PBUs. But at least we're getting an acronym because completions aren't acronyms. So, but we messed around about that 4 or 5 games into the year. I think last year that he had 11 or 12 early on, and sometimes you can be thrown at because of scheme or maybe because they're trying to take advantage of something. But he broke up a ton of passes. Trying to turn those into possessions right away and not deflections is always kind of the key. I mean, the plus-minus turnover margin is so incredibly important. And football has changed a ton, but the dynamics of wins and losses and making your own breaks really lie in the red zone percentage, O&D wise, third down percentage, O&D wise, and turnover margin. And so that hasn't changed. That's stayed consistent. So if we can get on the major plus side of things, that'll be ideal. And to do that, we've got to turn those PBUs into INTs.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Appreciate it.